All right, I'm ready to go for the filter section and for the matrix so I can copy the alpha log brass preset into my blank wavetable template. So in my wavetable, there are no filter settings at all. Just the frequency is set to 20.5 kilohertz, and in alpha log brass, we have a totally different setup. So I'm going to do that first. We'll set it to, where is it, 191. And the resonance is at 37. You'll also notice that there's a drive control down here in the alpha log brass, and in mine it isn't there. It doesn't appear. That's because the alpha log brass preset is this SMP. So I'm going to go into wavetable, my wavetable, and choose SMP. And there it is, drive will appear. So that may happen in your example as well. We're looking at 2.25 dB of drive, so I can do that too. Now always remember to keep on listening to your synth. We're going to get a little closer. So I'm going to go through and keep copying these settings. I need to get this to 24. So here's a little trick. I've got this close. I got it at 1.62, and if I use my arrow keys, it's going to jump up to 173. It's going up by a different number here. But if I want 163, I'm going to have to get it close and then hold the shift key. So here I'm at 1.62. Hold shift, hit the up arrow, and it goes up by 1/10. Or excuse me, 1/100th. All right, we're ready to move on to the matrix. Now notice this is really where the magic happens. This is where we'll have our final details made. Notice that when I play the alpha log brass, watch what happens to the filter. It moves, right? And in my wavetable, it does not move. So in this next step, we're going to make it move. So I'm going to start at the top. Amp, pitch, oscillator 1, pitch. Those are all pretty much standard. Those are all here. So I've just got to make sure I have my numbers right. Alpha log brass has nothing going on in the amp section. So I'm going to turn that off. Just make that 0. Pitch 2 under PB. That's already there. Alpha log brass doesn't have any note PB. So 0. Keep listening as you go, too. So notice that in analog brass, there's an oscillator 1 pitch. In alpha log brass, there's an oscillator 1 pitch, and I do not have that here in my wavetable. So in order for me to get that, I just have to click on that parameter. There it is, oscillator 1 pitch. So now I can go back to alpha log brass and copy those settings. Negative 0.4 under press. So here I am in my matrix, and I'm noticing that oscillator 1 panning is not in my default wavetable. So I need to make that appear. So what I'll do is go to alpha log brass, and I'll find it. It's over here. Oscillator 1 panning is here. It's left, right? I can make it go left or right. So oscillator 1 panning. Now I'll go over to my wavetable, the blank one, and I'll just tap that parameter, and in it goes. Oscillator 1 panning. Now I can get those values from over here. The panning is going to be negative 11 under velocity. So I'll go over here, velocity, negative 11, and check to make sure there's any more. 55 under random. And of course, as always, I listen to it when I'm done. cool. It needs to get a little brighter, but it will as soon as I put in the rest of these parameters. So I'm going to keep going. Okay, so here's where filter 1 frequency gets to be kind of exciting. So here in my wavetable, there's no motion, right? It's not moving at all. But in the alpha log brass, it does move quite a bit. So I'm going to copy those parameters from envelope 2 and envelope 3. That's these two envelopes, 20 and 30 respectively. And LFO1 at 25. Now let's have a listen. Look at that. It's working. So we're getting much closer now. So I'm really close now. Check it out. We're missing a bit of this unison mode and a few settings over on the side of the matrix. So alpha log brass, here's our volume and the polyphony mode. Polyphony is at 5. That's how many voices are allowed. Now there's this unison setting. It's kind of like chorus. Set to random. 5 voices, 68%. Okay, there it is. That's the final mod. I did these global settings of time and amount down at the bottom, and everything matches. So here is the alpha log brass, the preset, and here's the patch that I copied. It does exactly the same thing, and I learned an awful lot about what all these shapes do. Getting under the hood is really a great way to learn how to use one of these instruments. So you are well on your way to designing your own synths and being able to make smart choices about how to modify an existing preset.